Welcome and settle in. You find yourself in a quiet room where screens glow softly in a dim blue, where a hum as gentle as faraway surf threads through the air, and where the rhythm of a wind farm flows like a slow river of numbers and soft lights. This is a night of calm observation, or perhaps a day that moves so quietly it feels like night. A watchful post where the entire world outside is simply wind, nothing to wrestle with, nothing to chase, just currents of air that arrive, turn, and pass. If you enjoy this soft, steady drift through science and stillness, please like this video and subscribe for more gentle journeys. And if you would like to float through more episodes while you doze, there is a playlist link in the description you can tap when you are ready. What city country are you watching from right now? Imagine yourself at the operator's desk of a wine farm, or perhaps you are already at that desk adjusting the chair so it supports you in a relaxed, effortless way. The room is quiet and the lighting is low and easy on the eyes. The screens show a simple palette of greens and pale grays, lines moving lazily as the data updates, numbers ticking slowly, graphs that look like long breathing patterns, gentle rises and falls, the kind that remind you how steady an inhale can be and how soft an exhale can drift. The hushed ventilation whispers around you, blending with the imagined breath of the turbines, which are many kilometers away, scattered across a landscape you can picture without urgency. Hills or coastal flats or an open plain. They stand like long-legged birds, patient and purposeful, turning with a cadence that is neither hurried nor slow, but simply appropriate to the wind that brushes past. You lean back a little and listen inside the silence, noticing how even silence has texture. Perhaps there is the faint tick of a clock. Perhaps there is a soft electrical murmur from a rack of control equipment. Everything is calm, everything is steady. On this watch, nothing needs sealing or fighting, nothing needs to be chased down. Your job is to notice, to guide gently, to keep an eye on parameters that are content to stay where they belong. The gentle rhythm continues as the wind moves above the grasses and the blades respond in kind. You glance at the real-time power output of the farm, the numbers marching in a measured way. Each turbine icon on your screen has a small ring of status information. The yaw angle aligns with the incoming wind. The pitch angles are small and tidy at these speeds, allowing the blades to sip energy from the air, not gulp. You can almost sense the pressure difference forming across each blade, low pressure on one side, slightly higher on the other, lift flowing along the airfoil curve like a quiet stream in a shallow channel. In your mind, you see the flow lines wrap the blade, layering over its smooth shape. The flow remains attached, steady. The wind is clean today, low turbulence, the kind of air that makes turbines purr. Outside, if you imagine a walk along the service road, the sound you hear is closer to a breath than a roar. A distant, regular hush, 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 like a giant sleeping creature drawing calm lungs of air through feathery lungs. The towers are tall, painted pale to merge with the sky, and each nacelle sits like a calm presence, facing the wind, adjusting with small, unhurried motions. The gentle rhythm continues. The blades are long and slender, with a twist from root to tip that keeps the aerodynamic load distributed in a friendly way. The material of the blade is a composite of fibers and resin, layered carefully, strong but inflected, to bend a little, to flex and yield, to store a breath of energy and give it back. The structure is tested by gusts sometimes, but today the gusts are pats rather than pushy shoves, a soft, steady sea of air. On your desk there is a mug, warm if you want it to be, and its warmth is another kind of gentle machinery, releasing a faint fragrance of tea or coffee that keeps you grounded. The fragrance is light, earthy, or floral, and it anchors you in the room. You breathe in unhurried, and your attention drifts across the screens. The Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, the SCADA interface, lays out the status. It is a language you read without stress. You monitor rotor speeds, generator temperatures, gearbox or yaw drive currents, and the soft seesaw of active and reactive power flowing to the grid. All signals in range, all parameters comfortably within the green. The gentle rhythm continues. On the far screen, a weather map slides slowly. Wind vectors draw arches across the terrain. This is not a hurricane or a storm to chase. It is an inland wind or a coastal wind, perhaps a jet in the boundary layer lofting above the surface in the night. The forecast suggests a gentle build around midday, then a slow taper toward evening. The air is cool and slightly dry. A situation that stabilizes as the ground lingers in the afterglow of the previous sunset, or warms with the coming day if the sun is rising. You find yourself wrapped in a predictable cycle, the diurnal breath of the planet. Imagine stepping outside on a service visit. The road crunches lightly beneath your boots. The wind farm extends in a measured lattice, arranged to harvest the flow without interfering too much with neighbors. Turbines are spaced to minimize wake effects, where the air slowed and stirred by one turbine touches the next. The wakes are like ripples trailing a boat on a lake, or shadows that move and reshape with distance. Downstream, the turbulence eases, energy returns as the air remixes. The arrangement of the turbines considers this soft geometry, the invisible patterns of energy moving through the sky. It is calming to think of these shapes, invisible but present, patient but always in motion. The gentle rhythm continues. You reach a tower and imagine placing your hand against its steel. It is cool to the touch, a little textured with paint, solid and unwavering. Inside, a ladder or an elevator rails upward. The nacelle at the top is a capsule of calmly humming systems. There is a yaw drive that rotates the entire structure so the rotor faces the wind. There are pitch motors in the hub that adjust the blades, feathering them a little more when the wind grows, easing them a little when the wind calms. There is a generator that takes the smooth rotation and turns it into electrical power, which passes through converters that align the electricity with the grid's needs. Every component is working in quiet cooperation. Every bearing is rolling softly. Lubricant moves like calm syrup, distributed, protective. Harnesses carry signals like careful whispers. You envision the neat routing of cables, labeled and fastened, the careful paths of hydraulics and wiring, the way all this machinery speaks to the operator, to you, through the data you watch in the quiet room. You consider the physics of lift, and your thoughts slow as you feel the shape of the explanation. A blade is an airfoil, The wind approaches, and its path curves around the blade. On the longer curve, the air speeds up, pressure drops a little, and the resultant force nudges the blade forward, though the blade is pitched at an angle that gives the right balance of lift and drag. The angle is small, optimized, a compromise to take energy without letting the flow detach from the surface. The rotor turns because the lift does work on it, and that rotation spins a generator. There are limits. There is the famous limit named for Betts, an ideal that tells you the theoretical maximum fraction of the wind's kinetic energy you can take while letting the flow continue downstream. No turbine takes it all because the flow must still pass. That constraint has a gentle logic to it. Like the way you cannot drink an entire river, you can only take what passes through your cup. The gentle rhythm continues. The operator's tasks are simple today. You check for alarms, none are active. You adjust wind sector management so that certain directions are curtailed slightly to protect a nesting season if the site biologists have indicated such a need, or to avoid an unusual wake interaction if maintenance is underway in a specific corridor. You verify that environmental monitoring is in place. Some nights the bats are migrating and the algorithm raises the cut-in speed a notch to reduce risk, allowing the blades to idle until the wind is ready to turn them faster. The compromise is gentle and humane, and it is pleasing to witness this accommodation. Some mornings, birds skim the air too, and the turbine's presence is considered thoughtfully, with mitigations and studies to guide decisions. You feel as if the machines are learning to be good neighbors. The gentle rhythm continues. Forecasting is an art performed with computers and experience, models that understand the flow of air over hills, the influence of temperature layers, the drag of forests, the ocean's thermal inertia. All these operate beneath the hood of the prediction software. Ensemble runs offer a set of possibilities which you observe without haste. Each curve is like a strand of color on a calm tapestry. The average lines up with your intuition. The wind will rise, then soften, then rise again as a low-level jet forms overnight when the surface cools and friction calms. The jet drifts across the height where the blades sweep. You tune your expectations. You do not demand the future to be exact. You simply get ready to guide. The gentle rhythm continues. You look at the grid interface and see the role your farm plays in a larger orchestra. Voltage support is there in the reactive power settings. Ramp rates ensure that changes in output are not sudden, but shaped. The farm's control system holds a set point and respects it, nudging turbines gently to follow the plan. If the grid needs less, you curtail with a soft touch, not a harsh stop, letting blades still turn while the generator's conversion eases back. If the grid invites more, you increase pitch and accept a touch more wind, staying within comfortable mechanical limits. The conversation between your farm and the grid is a whisper, not a shout, with agreement reached steadily. The gentle rhythm continues. From time to time, you open a maintenance planning screen and look far beyond today into schedules for gearbox oil samples, for yaw ring inspections, for blade surface checks with binoculars or drones that pass like curious dragonflies across the sweeping arcs, gliding for a look at leading-edge wear or small chips to be smoothed and patched. You see the plan for retrofits that add small serrations near the trailing edge, whose job is to soften the noise, to reduce the tonal quality, to spread energy into frequencies less noticeable. A little engineering music, turning a whistle into a whisper. You sense how everything is softened at this work, how edges are eased and transitions are smoothed, how the design seeks not to dominate but to harmonize with a sky that is always changing. The gentle rhythm continues. In your mind's eye, you walk a little farther and notice the substation. Transformers rest inside a fenced clearing, quiet, humming with a tone that seems to come from the center of the earth. The soil smells faintly mineral and dry. A few hardy plants sway. The air here feels heavy with latent energy, but it is a peaceful heaviness, controlled and understood. The power flows through the transformer, stepped to a level the transmission lines can carry over distances. Switchgear holds position. Relays are on alert, but do not shout. Thick conductors run like shining cables, lattice towers, marching away across fields and hills like measured footsteps that never grow tired. You glance up at the line where electronic power meets mechanical support, insulators like gentle ornaments along a giant's necklace. The gentle rhythm continues. As the hours pass, your screen tells the story of a day that keeps its voice low. The capacity factor is a simple ratio, production over potential. It moves like a tide, 2/3, half, 3/4, rising a little when the sea breeze begins to whisper inland, falling a little when thermal differences fade. You notice without judging. You find contentment in the balance. There is no need for drama. The energy is clean, and its flow is the sum of innumerable tiny acts of air molecules moving together, carving patterns of turbulence that you cannot see directly, but which you know are there like a familiar texture inside a piece of wood, concealed but guiding its behavior. The gentle rhythm continues. Sometimes, when the weather is cold, you observe the possibility of icing. The air gives up its moisture in a quiet crystalline frosting on blades. In such conditions, you have sensors and strategies. You may curtail until the sun or the small wiper systems do their work. You may send an alert for a gentle inspection. The phrase you use in your head is something like, keep the machine safe, keep the soundness of it, because the wind will be here later, and a day without spinning is not a loss. It is simply a pause, like a rest in a piece of sheet music, after which the theme resumes. The gentle rhythm continues. As your drowsiness grows, you consider the boundary layer where all this wind lives. Near the ground, air is slowed by friction with the surface. Above, it flows more freely. The profile is like a soft curve, a gradient of speed. Turbines are tall because they want the better wind higher up, but there are always trade-offs. Taller towers mean stronger materials, wider footprints, careful transport. The sweet spot shifts with geography and economics. When the sun warms the ground, thermals rise and mix the air, making the profile more even and sometimes choppy. When the night calms the surface, a more stable layer forms, wind stronger aloft, gentler below, like a quiet river moving over a still pond. Your turbines sip from that river, and you watch their performance reflect the invisible shape of the wind they feel. The gentle rhythm continues. Imagine the day crossing toward afternoon. You adjust nothing for long stretches, which is its own kind of work, because you stay softly attentive. You check again. Temperatures in the nacelles stay well below thresholds. Generator stators are warm like a sunlit stone, but comfortable. Gearbox vibrations are measured in tiny signals, sensors listening to the whisper song of bearings and gears, seeking any discordant tone. The analysis comes back neutral. The song remains friendly. Brake temperatures cool, yaw motors turn now and then a few degrees to follow a small shift in wind direction, like a person turning slightly in sleep, then settling back down. The gentle rhythm continues. Think of the blades again. Their structure is a story of stiffness and grace. Near the root, the blade must bear large loads. It is thick and robust there, with spar caps that run like strong tendons along its length. As the blade extends toward the tip, it becomes lighter, narrower, more like a feather drawn out to the horizon. The twist along its length corrects for the different wind speeds at different radii because the tip moves faster than the root for the same rotation, and thus the angle of attack must be adjusted along the span. The designers account for all this with quiet expertise, so that when the blade turns, the lift is distributed evenly, the bending moment is manageable, the vibrations are calm and controlled. The gentle rhythm continues. On the sea, offshore turbines live another version of this story, surrounded by the color and movement of waves. Their foundations are set in the seabed, or float with gentle moorings if the water is deep. Their maintenance crews ride out in small boats or larger vessels, and their soundscape is a blend of wind and wave and distant gulls. You imagine the winch line that raises a bag of tools into the nacelle, the careful choreography of harnesses, the safety of redundant systems, the repetition of checklists. Offshore winds are stronger and more consistent, so the output is often a little higher and more regular, like a metronome with a steady hand. On land, winds dance with the terrain's texture. Both are beautiful in their predictability and their quirks. The gentle rhythm continues. Your control room has a calendar, perhaps digital, perhaps a simple paper sheet pinned beside the monitor. Dates are marked lightly with tasks that never shout. Environmental audits, substation inspections, test of the emergency lighting that you hope to never need, but which should be there like a reassuring friend. Every item is a calm anchor to the routine. The clock moves, but does not chase you. You stretch your hands and then rest them on your lap. Your breathing deepens in a way that feels calm and assured. The gentle rhythm continues. In the distance of your imagination, the sky changes tone. Morning softness grows brighter, or evening hues gather and deepen, depending on which way your day leans. The turbines keep their face to the wind, no matter where the sun is, and the light plays along their curves. Shadows from the blades roll across the grass in slow rhythms, a gentle flicker that farmers and wildlife have learned to live with, mitigated by thoughtful operation when necessary. The air smells faintly of cut hay or salt, of soil and stone. The ground holds your footsteps, and the towers stand as bookmarks in the book of the landscape, noting the chapters where human craft meets the earth's breath. The gentle rhythm continues. You return in your mind to the control screen where SCADA points glide like fish in a tranquil pond. Active power, reactive support. Voltage at the point of interconnection. Harmonics are low because filters and converters are doing their jobs. The inverters are in a mood that is cooperative, bringing current into phase, offering or absorbing reactive power to help hold voltage steady, responding to set points that align with grid codes designed for stability. There is beauty in this invisible alignment, a choreography that plays out along wires and along mathematical relationships, but which feels at your console like a steady hand on the tiller of a small boat that knows the river well. The gentle rhythm continues. You consider the larger system and let your thoughts slowly widen. The wind farm you tend is one instrument among many in a vast ensemble that includes solar arrays, hydro stations, perhaps some storage behind the scenes. Battery systems wait quietly in their climate-controlled enclosures, ready to smooth a ramp or catch a drop, exchanging energy with the grid like calm breaths. The synergy is soft. When clouds pass over a field of panels, the wind often remains steady. And when the wind slows in the late evening, perhaps hydropower eases a few more gates. The world's energy system is both complex and, in its best moments, gentle in its coordination. You think of data layers that guide foreseeable transitions, of forecasting models that have learned to read the sky's patterns with a kind of patience. The gentle rhythm continues. When the wind rises toward the cutout threshold, the turbines are sensible. They know the number beyond which spinning faster would become unkind to their structure. On such days, an operator watches and the turbines pitch their blades more aggressively, shedding energy, keeping rotation calm or stopping if needed with a poise that preserves the machine. This is not dramatic in tone when you observe it with gentle eyes. It is practical and conservative and kind to the materials, as if you were placing a book back on the shelf, rather than squeezing every last page from it at once. Materials last longer when asked to work within their comfort, like muscles that stretch but do not strain. The gentle rhythm continues. Data logs move past in a tidy stream. Each entry is time-stamped and detailed. The server hums, redundant disks spinning like quiet planets around a modest star. Backups are run on a schedule that is never a surprise, never a scramble. Blades get washed or polished to remove insects and small buildup that can trip the boundary layer into turbulence and lower efficiency. You imagine a bucket truck at the root or a rope team near mid-span, working slowly and carefully, secured by lines that are tested and trusted. Every motion is slow and exacting because slow is safe, and safe is kind, and kindness to bodies and machines is the tempo of this place. The gentle rhythm continues. Sometimes community members stop near the fence line and look up, and their faces carry different stories. Some see in the turbines a symbol of a deliberate turning toward cleaner air and steadier futures. Some simply enjoy the sight of motion against a quiet horizon. A few feel ambivalence or wonder. The operator is not here to persuade with words, but operates with a steady hand and a listening ear. The farm reduces local pollutants that used to rise from stacks elsewhere, and something about that invisibility is soothed by transparency. Tours are offered on certain days, safety being the first priority. Kids look up at the tall, slow blades. Someone points out how small their own movements feel by comparison, and yet how they are part of the whole, because every kilowatt is woven from such small moments. The gentle rhythm continues. Sound travels oddly across fields. On dry, cold nights, it carries farther. On warm, windy afternoons, it scumbles. From where you stand in your imagined walk, the swish of the blades is like a regular ocean tide heard across dunes, a soft, repeating presence. There are studies that count and calibrate decibels, that trace tonal components and broadband characteristics, that set limits and measure compliance. The turbines at your farm are fitted with trailing edge serrations and operating modes that avoid particular blade passing frequencies in certain conditions. Just another way the design bows to human comfort. You think about how engineering is often an art of edges, where things meet, where flows detach, where resonances might grow, and how the art is to make those edges rounder. The gentle rhythm continues. The land beneath the turbines remains useful in many cases. Fields are planted and harvested, sheep graze, roads remain paths for tractors and maintenance trucks. Water flows in culverts designed to be gentle on both soil and equipment. Fences keep curious creatures safe. There is a cohabitation here, a layering of use that feels respectful. The turbines do not occupy much ground at their base, even if their reach is wide. They ask for space where their shadows might fall in moving arcs, and the rest is given back to the cycle of seasons. You imagine grass heavy with dew, a low sun blinking through the rotating blades, an early tractor humming along rows with a steady purpose. The gentle rhythm continues. Within your role, there is a low, steady responsibility for safety. The equipment is large and capable, and respect keeps it a friend. Lockout procedures are rehearsed and second nature. Confined space protocols are simple and faithfully observed. Radio checks are performed with a calm hello and a quiet acknowledgement of signal strength. The first aid kit is stocked and not often needed, which is exactly how you like it. You test the emergency stop in simulation so that in the rare event it is required, the system responds as expected, gently if possible, decisively if necessary. The gentle rhythm continues. Grid codes evolve, as does your farm's ability to meet them. Fault ride-through requirements are implemented in firmware and tested during commissioning so that in the event of brief voltage sags or disturbances far away, the farm remains connected if it is safe to do so, supporting stability instead of adding to the event. You visualize the waveforms like lazy sine waves that can wobble and then settle, the converter control bringing them back to alignment, the reactive power stepping in to help the voltage find its path again. It is a choreography that the eye cannot see without instruments, but in your operator's seat, it becomes a familiar dance, learned steps that keep the system upright. The gentle rhythm continues. Your thoughts stretch back across the development of the site. Once, people measured the wind with anemometers on tall masts, recording its speed and direction in all seasons. They learned the distribution, which is often skewed with many calm days, some moderate winds, and a few strong ones. They plotted the curve that tells how often each speed occurs, fitting it to a smooth representation. They tested hardware in the lab and in the field, verifying that the chosen turbine model is a good match. They laid foundations after carefully studying the soil, ensuring frost and expansion would be managed, verifying load transfer into the earth. They erected towers section by section, bolting flanges with exactness, Cranes lifted nacelles and blades with slow practice motions as delicate as the placement of a feather. And now all that is done, and the farmhouse stands, a series of careful choices embodied in steel and resin, quietly turning. The gentle rhythm continues. At the operator's console, you see on another screen a picture of aerial currents on a larger scale. High above, jet streams arc. But down here, we speak mostly of winds in the boundary layer, coaxed by pressure gradients across continents. The Coriolis effect nudges the path subtly, making winds turn gently right in one hemisphere and left in the other, a slow swirl imprinting across maps. In the afternoon, a sea breeze may develop as the land warms, drawing air from the ocean as a soft answer to temperature differences. At night, land breezes return the favor, lighter and often quieter. There is no storm today, only this measured exhale and inhale, a pattern that takes care of itself. The gentle rhythm continues. Inside the turbine hub, pitch hydraulics or electric drives stand guard over blade angles. The system checks itself. It cycles once in a while with a small sip of energy to confirm it is ready. Should the wind slow further, the blades will turn a few degrees to capture more. Should the wind accelerate, they will feather with a grace that reduces load while keeping the rotor speed under a careful leash. This is not a chase, it is a guide. The computers on board are simple in their demands, precise in their outputs. They call and answer with the sensors around them, computing small equations that keep big forces friendly. The gentle rhythm continues. You take a moment to understand the gear ratio in a turbine with a gearbox, where the slow rotor turns a high-speed shaft that feeds the generator. Though many modern designs use direct drive generators without a gearbox, the idea is similar. A large slow rotation is converted into electrical energy through a thoughtful selection of machine architecture. Bearings cradle the shafts. They roll or slide on films of oil, their surfaces polished and matched to their loads. The oil moves through filters and coolers, quietly carrying away a trickle of heat. You picture the oil as if it were a warm glow winding through channels, soothing as it works. The gentle rhythm continues. Lulls in the wind happen. The blades slow until rotation pauses, and on such days, the turbines stand like sculptures. The control room remains quiet because a quiet machine sends no alarms, simply because there is little to do. You find that restful. The farm draws a small amount of power to keep systems awake and safe, to keep lights ready and yaw brakes prepared, and that is acceptable, the cost of readiness. The forecast suggests the wind will return. It always does, because pressure differences across the world are never fully still. So you wait. Waiting is part of the job. Waiting is not emptiness. Waiting is the fullness of attention lightly held. The gentle rhythm continues. At intervals, you review the site's environmental files. Vegetation management, soil integrity, bird studies, bat studies, acoustic logs, community feedback reports. Each is a chapter in a book of good citizenship. The farm is not a monolith. It is embedded in a place with a history and a texture. You respect that by subscribing to a rhythm beyond generation alone, a rhythm of care. Lights are shielded so that stars are kept visible in the night. Traffic to and from the site is planned to be light and predictable. You think about how this gentle mindset scales, how many small decisions accumulate into a pattern of kindness. The gentle rhythm continues. As the light changes in the sky of your imagination, perhaps approaching midday, you notice the low-level jet intensifying slightly above the farm. The models predicted this, and the measured wind at hub height rises in step. You see production climb with it. The farm approaches a set point you discussed earlier with the grid dispatcher, and you hold it there, flattening the peak so that other resources can plan around you. The graph looks tidy, the top clipped softly, as a hedge trimmed by a careful gardener. There is something satisfying about shaping an output profile, not in a controlling sense, but like a musician rounding the end of a note. The gentle rhythm continues. You think about storage again. A battery array sits not far from the substation, quiet as a library. Inside, racks of cells sleep in an orderly grid, their state of charge somewhere in a comfortable middle. On days when clouds dim the afternoon sun, the battery might step in to fill moments. On nights when wind is strong and demand is low, it might soak in a portion, saving it for morning kettles and showers. State of charge graphs look like gentle terraces. Charging and discharging currents are within limits that protect lifetime, and thermal management keeps temperatures steady. You like the moderation of it, the way the system looks after itself, the way the controls prefer ease over force. The gentle rhythm continues. In your mind, a utility planner considers tomorrow. Markets may shape dispatch, but the wind is not told what to do by a price signal. Instead, a forecast informs bids in a market that has learned to listen to weather. A schedule is laid out where your farm promises to deliver a certain profile, with limits and tolerances agreed in advance. If the wind shifts a little from the forecast, the market has reserves ready, because no single asset must bear the load of exactitude alone. This shared responsibility is an aspect of resilience. You feel its benefit like a supportive hand at your back, steady and reassuring. The gentle rhythm continues. You sit in quiet gratitude for the design of the human-machine experience. The interface is clear. The procedures are methodical. The environment is comfortable. The content of your work is deeply technical, yet its tempo is restful. You can sense the physical system's breathing in slow time with the weather, while your own breath matches theirs in a small way, in and out, in and out. Perhaps a drowsy heaviness begins to pull at the edges of your attention, and that is welcome. The gentle rhythm continues. If you would like to leave a little footprint of your visit here, we have a simple, soft invitation. How sleepy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You return to the turbine's aerodynamics, but in an even softer way now, barely lifting your mental pen. Air molecules flow along the blade, thousands and thousands at once, too many to count, yet their average motion is predictable. At the microscopic scale they collide and jitter, but at the macroscopic scale the movement is smooth, like fine sand, creating a shoreline curve that is unmistakable, even though it is built of tiny grains. Reynolds numbers describe the flow regime, but you let the acronym pass by like a leaf on the water. What matters here is that the design of the blade, its chord length, its angle, its twist, is chosen so that the flow follows gently, so that lift blossoms without fuss. When gusts come, They are more like little pushes than like waves, and the blade answers with a breath, flexing a millimeter here, a fraction of a degree there, so the generator never notices anything but steady turning. The gentle rhythm continues. On the operational screen, you can see turbine availability, that quiet metric that tells you how often your machines are ready and able. It remains high, an indicator of the patient care that goes into them. Reliability is the story of small things done well over and over. Grease in a bearing at the right time, a filter changed on schedule, a humidity seal checked, a tiny rattling sound found and corrected before it becomes a statement. Your ears and eyes and the instruments that extend them work together as a calm team. The gentle rhythm continues. Weather changes softly today. Thin clouds drift, filtering light without dimming the day into gloom. The wind gradually veers, rotating direction along the compass, like the hand of a clock that takes an hour to move the length of a minute. The yaw drives answer with a few degrees at a time, their motors humming in a tone that is more purr than buzz. They stop when the alignment is good and a brake holds position, not with force, but with firmness. The blades are set to an angle that matches this new direction, and generation continues without any stutter at all. The gentle rhythm continues. You open a report compiled at the end of the previous month, which summarizes performance. The graphs are tidy, and a narrative explains the few dips and rises. A maintenance outage here, a windy front there, a curtailment for wildlife on a few early mornings, a cluster of tests requested by the grid operator one afternoon. The numbers are not a race. They are a record of cooperation with the sky. Reading them, you imagine steady pages turning in a notebook that is becoming a quiet archive. The gentle rhythm continues. You imagine the surface of a blade seen under soft light. Near the leading edge, the surface is smooth but lightly textured by microscopic paint structure, designed to resist bugs sticking and to support laminar flow where appropriate. Farther back, toward the trailing edge, a fine sawtooth serration interrupts and diffuses the air as it leaves, turning what could be a sharper sound into a cloud of tiny sounds that blend into the background. The edges are clean, and any small chips have been tended to by technicians who carry resin and cloth and patience. The blade feels almost like a living thing to those who care for it, though it is clearly an object, just carefully crafted and carefully watched. The gentle rhythm continues. At the base of each tower, a small door opens to a space that is clean and organized. A ladder or lift rises. Safety lines anchored. Cables descend in a loop, controlled for slack, so that they do not twist as the nacelle yaws. Sensors report the position of everything. Controls are labeled clearly. The smell is a blend of paint, metal, and the faintest hint of lubricants, not unpleasant, simply present. It is a work environment built for clarity. You run your hand along a guardrail, smooth and solid. Paint unblemished because someone cares to touch up the places where daily life would otherwise leave small marks. The gentle rhythm continues. Grid disturbances are rare, but you know what to do, and you know how the system will respond. Converter controls will try to maintain synchronization through small voltage dips, injecting reactive power to help. Protections will open if the event demands separation to keep the equipment safe, but reclose arrangements will invite reconnection when it is wise. Then the farm will step back in, gently ramping up rather than leaping. You practice it in your mind as if it were a drill, not because it is likely to happen, but because calm readiness is the heart of this work. The gentle rhythm continues. Energy, in this context, feels like the most straightforward thing. Wind turns kinetic energy across a blade, and that angular momentum becomes a flow of electrons down a line. You can think of it in equations, where power is proportional to the cube of wind speed, but your mind today prefers pictures to numbers. You picture the cube as a space, large and airy. And when the wind grows a bit, the space of available energy grows much more, like a room expanding in every direction, not just one. You watch this expansion happen on your screen, but you do not chase it. You hold the plant gently against its limits, respecting mechanical loads and grid needs. The gentle rhythm continues. Through a window of memory, you recall commissioning, a time of carefully staged steps when a turbine first turned under control, first synchronized with the grid, first produced power. And you remember how even that was a quiet day. There was no cheering, just a series of nods and a shared feeling of having set something into motion that would keep pace with the wind for a long time. Each turbine joined the farm like a voice entering a choir. The section energized, the power rose, the graphs smoothed into their now familiar slopes. The gentle rhythm continues. In the rhythm of your day, you sometimes open a small notebook and write a brief line about something that is not strictly technical, but that matters. Perhaps the way the light fell on the nacelle. Perhaps the way a hawk hung in the air above the service road. Perhaps the way the substation hum took on a different shade when the air cooled. These notes are not for reports. They are for you, a way to honor the subtlety that keeps you attentive without strain. The gentle rhythm continues. Lunch is a quiet affair, whether eaten at a small table in the corner or outside on a bench that looks over fields. The food is simple and comforting. You sit for a while and feel the air on your skin. If the farm is inland, the wind may carry the scent of crops or dry grass. If it is coastal, perhaps the salt pricks the air in a way that wakens and soothes. The sun, if it is out, sits warm but not harsh. You eat slowly because there is no hurry in this place that is mostly monitoring and guiding. The gentle rhythm continues. Inside, the automated checks go on. Fire detection systems sample the air in enclosed spaces. They stay mute as they should. Temperature sensors send their values as if tucking a blanket around the machines. Lightning detection networks listen to the sky across a wide radius, ready to inform you if a storm begins to wander this way. The site has a protocol then, a set of steps to reduce risk without fuss. Towers, being tall, are fitted with down conductors that whisper lightning's energy safely into the ground when the sky decides to momentarily speak loudly. But today, the sky is a softly murmuring friend. The gentle rhythm continues. The conversation with the electrical utility is cordial and reflective of mutual goals. They want stability and reliability. You want to provide it within the nature of wind. They communicate in clear windows and maintain dispatch that respects the variability of renewable assets. You have agreed on ramp rates and ride-through. You have agreed on 1 or 2 hours when testing can occur, and those times pass uneventfully. Just small adjustments, small verifications, like a pilot checking instruments during a long, smooth flight. The gentle rhythm continues. You can be curious about the materials. The tower is steel, rolled and welded, pieces assembled on site, coated against corrosion. The nacelle's shell is composite, light and protective, enclosing gear and generator. Inside, aluminum and copper course through coils and bus bars. There is a modest amount of rare materials, carefully minimized by design choices that balance performance with global stewardship. The blades are composite too, shaped in a mold and cured, then finished with attention to achieving a surface that will handle millions of cycles of flex and wind. Over time, they may receive small upgrades, perhaps a new leading edge protector or a tweaked serration. The gentle rhythm continues. A service truck moves along a gravel road that curls between turbines. It is unhurried, carrying technicians who chat in low tones and listen to the engine's even hum. They are practiced at small tasks that have big consequences. A weathered hand replaces a sensor. A careful eye matches the torque on a bolt. A calm voice calls out steps. They work for a while, then they close doors, step back, and look up. A little smile. The turbine continues its timeless motion. The gentle rhythm continues. From your seat, you can reach into layers of data and pull out small stories. A yaw bearing's temperature map forms a subtle curve that rises slightly with wind speed and then stays flat, like a hill with a plateau. A converter's switching frequency is audible as a barely there tone in the room when you stand by the cabinet. A tone that changes so softly with the load that only someone who has listened for years hears it, like a safe's keeper who knows the click of a well-oiled lock. A new firmware feature appears as a checkbox. You read the module name and nod. Not today. Later, during the maintenance window, the gentle rhythm continues. A colleague arrives to share part of the shift, and the handover is as quiet as passing a book from one lap to another. You say what the forecast was and what the reality has been. You note that a work order will be closed by twilight. You mention that bat curtailment will continue for another 2 weeks according to the plan. You point to an annotation on the grid operator's schedule. They nod. You rise and stretch and feel your joints settle in a kindly way. The gentle rhythm continues. Outside, a line of trees on the horizon bows in the wind as if waving, each leaf a tiny anemometer flickering. Shadows of blades drift across them and then pass, an interplay of movement that never grows tiring to watch because it is neither insistent nor loud. It may lull the eyes the way a fireplace does, but with cool air instead of warm. Distant cattle, ignore it. Distant cars on a highway hum, an almost imagined sound from miles away, the auditory equivalent of a faint pencil mark across a page. The gentle rhythm continues. You think about the notion of capacity credit, how the grid values the probability you will be there when demand peaks. Wind has less capacity credit than firm generation, but not nothing. The mix matters. The grid succeeds on diversity and cooperation. You like that idea. It matches your career in the sense that patience is part of production. and that no single day must carry all the weight. The gentle rhythm continues. The longer you sit, the more your breathing falls into a cadence with the graphs. The power production is not perfectly flat, but its variations are the gentlest of waves. The yaw activity is a few degrees here, a few degrees there, almost like the shifting of a body in a comfortable chair. The pitch system's tiny adjustments are like the act of smoothing a blanket. You imagine each turbine as a quiet being with a steady heartbeat, a reading on a screen that does not draw attention because it is right where it should be. The gentle rhythm continues. You recall the Betz limit again, the ceiling of theoretical performance that stands like a calm reminder that nature has its own constraints. It is not a stern teacher. It is a softly spoken principle that says you may take from the wind, but you must also leave it enough to continue on its way. The structure of the limit is mathematical, but its spirit is ecological, balance. That word is soothing here. The gentle rhythm continues. On some days, a technician with a drone flies a mission along blades to inspect for erosion at the leading edges. The drone sound is a small buzz compared to the large hush of the wind. The camera captures high-resolution images, which are analyzed by a system that highlights the length and depth of any imperfections. The result is a gentle map of attention to be paid, not a list of worries. The blade will be tended to, the tiny wounds smoothed, a small patch offered, and the machine will return to its calm work. The gentle rhythm continues. As dusk draws near in your imagined cycle, the color of light shifts, shadows lengthen, the wind may calm a little, or depending on geography, it may strengthen as the temperature gradient shifts. Either way, you're ready and unhurried. A control action here, a note there, a sip of water. You watch as the horizon takes on pastel tones. The towers appear a little darker against the sky, their lines cleaner, more graphic. The blades turn still. The gentle rhythm continues. Someone might ask, in another context, how these turbines fit with the lives of those who live nearby. In your gentle reverie, you prefer stories to debates. Your story shows neighbors who have become accustomed to the motion and who appreciate the checks arriving on schedule for leases or community funds. Your story shows maintenance on roads the farm uses, benefiting others. Your story shows biologists counting migration and adjusting curtailment windows in response to data, not guesswork. The farm is both a machine and a participant in a place, and in your story, everything is slower than headlines. The gentle rhythm continues. A small bird lands on a tower handrail. You can imagine it tilting its head, eye bright, catching an insect, then launching itself into the mixed air. The wind plays with it, but only gently. The bird knows more about the turning blades than we do on our first day. It avoids the rotor plane, whether by instinct or learned habit. There are interactions that require care, of course, and your farm honors this with strategies and equipment that reduce risk. Still, this image of coexistence sits in your mind, calming and real. The gentle rhythm continues. Night falls fully. The lights that mark tower tops blink at an interval agreed upon by pilots and regulators. They are not aggressive, just present. A discrete language in red that says, "I am here." They activate only when needed if the site has systems that detect approaching aircraft. Otherwise, they pulse at a slow, steady rate. The stars come out behind them, scattered generously. The Milky Way, if the sky is clean, curls across like a spilled trail of salt. It is quiet. The turbines keep turning. The gentle rhythm continues. In the small hours, the wind may smooth out further. The surface cools, stratification increases, and the turbulence dies down. The rotor sweeps through air that has the texture of silk rather than linen. The generator hums with contentment. The output is smooth. The operator's room glows softly, a cocoon of information that expects little of you because the systems are working as designed. You remain present, quietly tracing your gaze across the screen. The gentle rhythm continues. You think about the nature of attention, how it can be relaxed and yet precise. Your attention now is a soft beam, like moonlight through a thin curtain. It lights up what matters and lets the rest be background. In that state, your sense of time spreads like a lake at dawn, calm and reflective. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are simply here, accompanied by wind on a landscape, machinery in a safe envelope, electrons flowing along their appointed lines. The gentle rhythm continues. If you were to walk out the door and stand at the base of a turbine in the night, you would feel a faint thudding in the air from the blades passing. But it would be a low sound, a heartbeat scaled up and slowed down. It might even make you drowsy, the way a train rolling in the distance does, or the way rain on a roof does. Regular and self-similar. The wind past your ears would be cooler than the room. Your breath would plume small and white if the night were cold. The stars would be there. The earth would turn. And the turbine would continue to face the wind without a splash of effort, just an ongoing decision to meet the air as it arrives. The gentle rhythm continues. Some nights there is maintenance that must happen. If a crew is out, there is more radio talk, but still measured and calm. They speak in standard phrases because standard phrases are safe and clear. They climb or take the lift. They tide off lines. They do their work. You listen in, not to supervise, but to be present and ready. The task completes. Tools are counted and stowed. The turbine returns to service. You log the event with a few lines that anyone could read a year from now and understand. The gentle rhythm continues. You might open a document about lifetime management, a philosophy of drawing long life from the machine by avoiding unnecessary stress. You adjust control strategies with that in mind. The rotor speed may be capped a little lower than maximum when gusty conditions become frequent to reduce fatigue. The yaw adjustment may be set to favor fewer, larger steps, avoiding tiny, constant corrections that would wear the yaws in the system. The pitch rate may be limited to smooth out small wind fluctuations. All these choices add up to a margin of kindness that pays out in years of service. The gentle rhythm continues. Some observers express curiosity about what happens when the wind is too strong. The answer in your daily life is that the turbines know when to slow and when to stop, and they do so gently. Blades pitch to feather, rotation decays, brakes engage if needed, and the machine pauses, waiting as the storm passes. It is like a person closing an umbrella in a gale and stepping into a sheltered doorway. Later, when the wind calms to a comfortable range, the system checks itself and resumes. No drama, just prudence. The gentle rhythm continues. Thinking about wake effects, you picture the air leaving a turbine as a broad cone of slightly slower, more turbulent flow. Downstream turbines see that and adjust. The farm controls can set yaw positions that account for wakes, even misaligning slightly upwind turbines to steer wakes away from others if that is beneficial to the whole. This technique, subtle and site-specific, shifts the geometry of invisible patterns. The math is quiet. The effect shows up in a graph that is quietly satisfying. The gentle rhythm continues. You consider the gentle friction of the earth on air again. This friction is part of why wind exists across large scales, balancing pressure gradients. It takes energy from the flow, and that energy is what your turbine harvests in a small, respectful way. The blade is a mediator that speaks both languages, the language of sky and the language of electrons. It listens to the wind and passes on just enough energy to light a lamp far away, to spin a fan, to heat a kettle for someone making tea while you watch your screens. The gentle rhythm continues. The night's deepest quiet arrives, or perhaps it is the day's softest lull. Your blinking slows, your shoulders descend by a few millimeters, a relaxation that feels like sliding a weight from a shelf and into a drawer. You remain responsible, but responsibility does not mean anxiety. It means presence. With presence, you catch everything you need to catch, and you let go of the rest. The gentle rhythm continues. There is a philosophical comfort in the regularity of wind farm operation on a day like this. It is an interaction with a part of nature that does not ask for sacrifice of peace. It brings steadiness to the grid while asking only that you pay attention in a human way. It trades spectacle for longevity. It finds its value in hours and hours of quiet output that add up to a page count at the end of the year, not in a headline. For a person like you, this is a fit. The gentle rhythm continues. You find your eyes falling on the anemometer readings. The little cups spin on towers, and their rotations are translated into speed measurements. Up in the nacelles, sonic anemometers might listen to the wind in tiny pulses of sound, measuring with precision that feels at odds with such a gentle environment. But it fits, because precision does not need to be loud. The wind veers 2 degrees, the yaw moves 2 degrees, nothing else changes. The graphs remain calm. The gentle rhythm continues. Someone once compared turbine blades to airplane wings, but in truth, they are more like a bridge between the two worlds, bridging the shape of wind to the shape of electricity. You smile at the thought, as if personifying physics made it simpler to rest. The gentle rhythm continues. On the wall, a small framed photo shows the site in winter, dusted with snow, turbines crisp against a pale sky. You imagine that cold air bit and how the wind felt like a stripe on your cheeks when you walked out to a tower then. Today is not that day. Today is mild, or simply mild in your memory. The gentle rhythm continues. Your chair supports you well. It reclines a few degrees, enough to ease the lower back, and the desk is at a height that keeps your shoulders down. A soft wrist rest pads your hands where they rest. The keyboard's clicks are soft. The mouse moves in slow arcs. If you turn the brightness down a notch, the screens still show everything clearly. but your eyes sigh inside. You might not have noticed tension before you removed it. Now you notice its absence and prefer it. The gentle rhythm continues. Sometimes a vibration analysis program displays a waterfall plot, layers of colored lines that show frequencies over time, each turbine its own slender waterfall. The shape remains familiar. No new peaks appear. Peaks are like mountains, rising where a valley should be, and today the terrain is flat and friendly. The gentle rhythm continues. System logs contain small confirmations of life. The clock checks time with an external reference, a pulse that tells it the world's consensus of seconds. The routers mention that their links are healthy. The data historian reports that it is compressing with good ratios and archiving successfully. All of these are small hearts beating in the background. None demands your attention. They simply inform, like a cat turning over in its sleep. The gentle rhythm continues. When the wind shifts quickly, an operator can observe the yaw rate rise and then settle, the blades adjusting, the generator holding speed with the consistency of a pendulum clock. The shift you see now is gradual. The yaw rate graph is a low line near zero with small bumps. The blade pitch angle graph is a line that slopes like a road over a gentle hill. The active power graph rises and falls like tides within the boundaries set by your agreements. Your mind drifts along with them and finds itself relaxing deeply. The gentle rhythm continues. You remember the last time the farm's communications were tested end to end. The test involved simulating a lost link, observing failover to a backup channel, and then restoring the primary path. Everything happened without fuss, each system doing what it was designed to do, like a town where everyone knows to step aside when a quiet truck moves through the narrow street. The gentle rhythm continues. You imagine the wind itself, not at the scale of turbines, but at the scale of you, in a field, your arms at your sides, your hair stirred or your hat held in place. You imagine that sensation being turned by the blades into a flow of electrons that travels to a home where a lamp glows beside a bed, throwing a pool of warm light, or to a library where a computer stays on through the night while someone writes gently, or to a hospital where a monitor beeps softly in a manner that is not alarming but reassuring. That path from air to light or air to sound is simple at heart. The gentle rhythm continues. The clock edges toward a time when someone else will take the seat, or when your shift ends and you will walk to your car or your bike. Between now and then, nothing will change in character. The checks will continue. The logs will fill a few more lines. The turbines will turn. Air will move. You will breathe. The gentle rhythm continues. At that change of guard, you will say little, because little needs to be said. It was all wind, you will say, and the words will cover everything. They will carry the weight of 100 small choices, but they will not carry any heaviness. The person sitting down will nod, grateful for the calm. The gentle rhythm continues. The night return or the day lifts, depending on how you look at it. Perhaps you drive past a turbine and look up, and the rotor's slow spin makes you think of a clock that tells only one time, the time of wind, a time that is always now, never rushing ahead, never lagging behind. You feel the steadiness in your bones. The gentle rhythm continues. your mind navigates back to the room again, to the soft glow of the monitor that shows the shape of that day. The colors are friendly. The icons are spaced in ways that suggest someone thought about how it would feel to look at this screen when tired. The fonts are calm. The graphs are readable without squinting. The chair is still supportive. You can almost hear your own heartbeat now. It thumps in a lovely, lazy way. The gentle rhythm continues. There is a final sweep you perform, a ritual of closure. You check the communications once more. You verify that alarm filters have not been left in test modes. You ensure the handover notes are clear and simple. You glance at the weather one last time. Nothing, you say to yourself softly, because nothing is exactly what you hoped for on a day like this. The gentle rhythm continues. Imagine stepping outside once more, feeling the wind on your face. You look across the field of turbines, or along the row if the terrain funnels them into lines, and you feel a mild affection for machines that do not ask for attention to be admired, machines that are happy to work quietly. You smile, a small smile, and you turn back to the door. The gentle rhythm continues. You breathe in again, you breathe out again. If your eyes are heavy, you let them be heavy. If your shoulders want to sink into your cushion, you let them sink. Your jaw loosens, your hands rest on your lap, your feet find the floor or curl under a blanket. Gravity is kind, time is kind, the wind is kind. The gentle rhythm continues. In closing, you return to the essence of your day, the phrase that sums it up with all the grace it deserves. It was just wind, and that was enough. Thank you for being here, for keeping me company in this quiet watch. I wish you a night of deep rest and a day of balanced ease whenever you wake next. If this gentle passage helped you relax, please subscribe and leave a like so we can keep releasing videos this often. And when you feel ready for another calm science story, the playlist in the description is there to carry you on. Now, rest well. The gentle rhythm continues.